Hi everyone, I'm Joanna Penn from thecreativepenn.com and today I'm interviewing Stephen Lewis. Stephen is a ghostwriter, journalist, podcaster and Kindle author with an Amazon Top 10 best-selling guide to Sydney, amongst other ebooks. His blog, kindlewriters.com, has lots of helpful tips for authors publishing on the Kindle. So welcome, Stephen.
Hi, Joanna. Thanks very much.
No, it's great to have you on the show. So, there's so many things that we could talk about with the Kindle. But let's start with a basic. Why do we get excited about the Kindle over other platforms?
I think there's a couple of reasons. As a reader, it's just better. It's just a nicer reading experience. It genuinely does work in the sun. It's genuinely portable. And because the Kindle although you can get apps for it, it's really just for reading. Whereas with an iPad, for instance, it's a computer, so it's got that multifunction ability, which means it does a lot of things. It does a lot of things well, but nothing as perfectly, perhaps, as one that's designed only for that. And I think as authors, we get excited about the Kindle because that's where the readers are. The Amazon at the moment accounts for probably about 70% of ebook sales. So if you're going to get out there and you're going to dip your toe in the water, you might as well dip it in the biggest body of water there is, and that's the Kindle.
No, I would absolutely agree with you. And even if things start to change, I mean, as you said, it's still the lion's share of things. So that's fantastic. So okay, another thing everybody wants to know, which is once people have their book on the Kindle, how do they sell books? Now you've got a great little free ebook available on your site. Maybe you could just outline some of your ideas for how to sell more books on the Kindle.
I think one of the things that surprises me the most is I think a lot is written about, have a good blurb on the page, have a really good cover. But the most important thing in getting sales is reviews. When you go to an Amazon Kindle Books page and there are no reviews, you don't have that social proof that says other people have liked this book. Because one of the arguments that I make with people is that there are two things really in choosing a book in terms of your price. One is the actual price of the book, and two is the cost of my time in reading the book. There are always other books that I can be reading, so you've got to be showing me, I don't care if your book is 99 cents or $4.99, I care that I'm going to spend an hour starting to read it and then going, I wish I'd got something else. So you have to get those reviews. They're absolutely crucial to the sales. And I think, what happens with a lot of people is they don't ask for the reviews because we're all a little bit shy and we like to work in our own little, world and write our book, and then we put it out there and we're nervous about whether anyone will like it. And partly we're worried if we ask for reviews, maybe we'll get a review where somebody says they don't like it. But you need those reviews. And you should be using your book to ask for the reviews. When you write a Kindle book, you're writing a book that people are reading on a digital device. Why not have a link to where they can leave a review, or use the Kindle's built-in features like Before You Go, which come up at the end of the book, to ask people, please take a moment to rate my book. So I think really asking for reviews is my number one tip for marketing your book.
No, that is a good tip and something I've been trying to do myself. And if I get an email from someone that just says, I really enjoyed your book, I say, thank you so much. I would really appreciate if you could just put that one line on a review. That's all it needs to be, isn't it? It doesn't have to be three pages.
No, well, because when you go to that book's Kindle page, one of the first things the potential reader sees is your star rating and the number of reviews that you've had. If you have a blank star rating because no one's reviewed your book and a big fat 0 next to it, that's terrible. That's worse than one 3-star review, for instance. At least a 3-star review indicates I'm not going to be the first person who's chanced their time on your book.
No, absolutely. Okay, so I guess nobody really understands how Amazon algorithms work. We just don't, because it's not out there. But do you have any inklings or opinions on it?
It's been clear to me that as your book proceeds up the bestseller list, where it really seems to be helpful is that people who bought this book also bought that book. So I can see, for instance, that my guides to Sydney are shown against things like Fromer's travel guide. So that's fantastic for me. My guides are walking tours of Sydney. So, of course, somebody coming in to buy a Lonely Planet guide to Sydney then gets to see that I'm there. So, in a way, more sales beget more sales, which is a bit of a chicken and an egg argument, of course, but you really need to get some sort of burst of sales to start with. So you, for instance, when you launched Pentecost, went on your guest blogging tour, really got the word out there to people. And that, of course, is going to create a snowball that's just going to keep going because your book's going to be displayed against other books and in bestseller lists.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What about some of the other things? So, for example, the little lists of things that people do, and are there other things that people can be doing on Amazon that will actually help?
You can do a couple of things on Amazon. You can get into those Listmania lists. So, what you might want to do is search Google for Amazon Listmania, because I always think of Amazon, and it's a little bit of a South American extension of the analogy. It's a bit like a favela. People don't realize how many little pockets of Amazon there are out there. A lot of authors, for instance, don't realize that if they've got an Author Central account with a profile on Amazon.com, they need to do the same thing on Amazon.co.uk.
Yes.
Listmania is not easy to find through Amazon. If you go to Google and search Amazon Listmania, you'll find all these crazy people who are just creating lists, my 10 favorite books, the 20 best books about Sydney. There's often an opportunity, because these people publish their email addresses, to email them and say, hey, have you considered my book? To add to your list. So that's really useful. Amazon's also got a feature called So You Want To. So, for instance, one of my books helps people find free newspapers they can read on their Kindle. So I've got a So You Want To read free newspapers on your Kindle. And that, rather unfortunately, self-servingly, just puts up my two titles on the topic. But you could think to yourself, I'm a thriller writer. I'm going to put together a list of the 10 best thrillers, or I'm going to put a So You Want an Introduction to Vampire Fiction on my, So You Want To. So those are the sorts of things that you can be getting on to do on Amazon itself. But I would absolutely think that reviews are the number one. Just absolutely the number one thing. I think for a lot of authors, you have that challenge of you want to write. So yes, you've written a book, but you still want to be writing the next book. You don't want to spend all your time marketing. So you've really got to look for that 80-20. Where am I going to put my work that's going to get 80% of the results? And it's in those reviews. And also off Amazon as well. I mean, it's not all, of course, about people finding you on Amazon, as you well know. I think the Before You Go feature, which I have written about, is absolutely fascinating, because if you go and have a look at the number of people who are tweeting that they finished a book or sharing it on Facebook, that's incredibly good for you.
No, absolutely. Okay, so one of the wonderful arguments, well, not arguments, things that people are talking about at the moment is the 99-cent, price point. And I started off at $2.99, as many of us do, and I swiftly moved down to 99 cents because of John Locke, who, if anyone looks at the Kindle Top 100, he is, beating Amanda Hocking, basically. So maybe you could talk a bit about the price points and, why 99 cents, why $2.99, whatever you think.
I think there's I have a philosophical problem with 99 cents, which, and obviously in business, your philosophical questions are not necessarily relevant. But I think the hurtling down to 99 cents is hurting authors. I think we've got a situation where there's a lot of talk about ebooks getting rid of the distribution costs of books. Well, that's fantastic. But there's still the cost of writing it, designing the cover, editing it, and the time that it takes to market your book. And if you're selling your book for 99 cents, I think a lot of readers don't necessarily know or care, perhaps, that you're only getting 35 cents of that. That's a very little amount of money for the amount of work that it takes to, write a book and get it out there. And also, if you sell your book for $2.99 because of the Amazon different royalty system, a $2.99 book earns you $2.05. So you've got to sell 7 times as many books at 35 cents to make $2.99. So I think as an author, we love to get into Amazon and we love to go to the KDP and we love to see our sales have gone up. but I've done a long-term experiment on the price of my own books and seen that, yes, the numbers of sales really go up at 99 cents, but I'm still making less money than I make at $2.99. You've got the great argument, of course, that 99 cents is a way of getting people into your books. So you're Amanda Hocking, you put out one book at 99 cents, like, oh my God, I love Amanda Hocking, I'm now buying all of her books for $2.99 or more. But a lot of authors only have one book, or only have one book in a particular genre. So in my case, for instance, I've got 2 walking tours of Sydney and 2 guides to how to get the most out of your Kindle. You're not going to buy all 4 of my books if you like one of them for 99 cents. And I think that's the sort of thing that people have to really think with a business head about. Do I want to get more readers, or do I want to make more money for the book that I'm selling? And, you just need to be doing the maths on that all the time.
I think there is definitely a difference between fiction and non-fiction as well, in that the volume of fiction just sells, much, much more. I mean, I've noticed with my own books, I have 4 books on the Kindle, only one is fiction, and it's sold, just so many more books, it's ridiculous. And going down to 99 cents has actually, I've gone right up the rankings again. So, and as you said, I mean, Pentecost is the first in a series, and my aim is to get it into as many hands of people as possible. I have a day job. I'm not looking to make the money on 99 cents. So I agree with you in one way, but I think that, as you say, you have to play around, and every person has to look at their own situation.
That's right. You absolutely have to look at what you're seeking to achieve with your writing. So, in the case of my non-fiction how-to type books, I'm looking to maximize the revenue from the sales of that individual book. But absolutely, if I had a 5-part series on enjoying Sydney, I would definitely consider making the first one 99 cents. Because, as I say, you really want to get people to the point where they can trust you to be producing a book that's worth their time as much as their money. And 99 cents makes it easier to do that. Yeah.
And just if people, I'll put the link to John Locke's guest post on Joe Conrad's blog, but his books are downloaded every 10 seconds that a John Locke book is sold. And I was trying to work it out the other day. The guy is making a lot of money from 99-cent books.
Oh, that's right. I did the numbers on Stephen Leather, who's
yes, in the UK,
by his own rights, the UK's best-selling independent author. He made £12,000. I think it was $12,000, £12,000. I can't remember. I did write the post about it over December and January from selling his books at 99 cents.
All right. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the common misconceptions or things that people get wrong about the Kindle, and can we dispel some of those?
In terms of what authors get wrong about it?
Yeah, first of all, the people who might not have a Kindle or, have this issue with ebooks. And then, I mean, that's probably the biggest one.
I think the number one misconception of readers is that you need to own a Kindle to read a Kindle book. If you've got an iPad and you like reading on the iPad, you can have the Kindle app on the iPad and you can read Kindle books on the iPad having never owned a Kindle. On the iPad, on your computer, on your iPhone, whatever you've got. So you don't need a Kindle book to read a Kindle. I think when I got my Kindle, I was one of those people who said, I love paper, the romance of paper. I must have shelves of books so that everyone can see how well read I am. And if it's all just on my Kindle, no one will know how intelligent I am. And I won't have the romance of, holding that printed book. And then I got the Kindle, and I read my first book on the Kindle, and I thought, hey, do you know what? I care about reading. And these are words on a page, and I'm still reading. It doesn't actually matter whether I'm reading it on a printed page or reading it on the Kindle. And I think for authors, there's also, when you talk to authors, we've all had that dream that we'd be able to walk into Dimmocks, we've all had a dream that we'd be able to walk into Borders, you can't do that anymore, and see our book on the shelf. But when I saw my own books on the Kindle, I thought, hey, you know what? This is a book. This is a book, and you read it, and my job as a writer is to present you with my words that you can read. I don't care if you're reading them on a printed book, printed out of your laser printer, or on a Kindle. I just want to get my words out there. And that's really fantastic. I still feel a huge sense of pride when I know that somebody's bought my book on the Kindle.
Yeah, I do as well, and I mean, you can also have your book in print as well as on the Kindle. I think that's the other thing that people forget is it doesn't have to be just ebook publishing, does it?
No, no, absolutely not. You don't have to do one thing or the other. I mean,
Mm.
Amanda Hocking, as we all know, has now gone and signed a traditional publishing deal because I think that is another, if we can just go to that, that's
Mm.
another misconception that if you self-publish, publishers won't touch you because you've dirtied yourself with self-publishing. People forget that publishing is a business.
Mm.
If I go to a publisher and say, look, I've written a book and my mum really loves it and, I think other people really love it, would you like to print it? That's great. But if I go to a publisher and say, I've written a book, my mum really loves it, and so do the 1,000 other people who bought it on the Kindle, a publisher's a business person. That's fantastic. You're going to them and saying, excuse me, I've got a product that sells. That's so much better, and that's exactly what Amanda did, which is great for her.
Mm. No, absolutely. Okay, so tell us a bit more about your blog, Kindle Writers. Why did you start that, and what's your aim with that site?
I started it because it's always been a thing of mine that if I find out how to do something, I really want to share it. And as I've got a journalism background, particularly in consumer electronics, so for me it was really the marriage of two things, that I know there are all these authors out there, and the Kindle is quite technical. I mean, there is a technical element. There's a technical element to getting your book on the Kindle to start with, and there's a technical element to marketing your book. And that was something that I really thought that I could help people with, to do better. And that, in a way, it's a circular thing because it facilitates me. I like writing how-tos. Here's a great thing to write a how-to about with a massive audience of people who are trying to do it. I mean, last year, 500,000 books were self-published in the US alone. People want to write, and they want to get those books out there. I read a story on, it might have been Joe Conrad's blog again, of an author who had 7 children and a day job and had still found time to write a novel. And she put it on the Kindle and it went well. So she then pulled out her other novel. Not only had she written one novel that had never got published, she'd written another one. So, writers want to write and they want to get it out there. And it's just really exciting to be able to help them, get their books on the Kindle. Because I would say, going back to the misconception question, the idea that you can just run your book out of Word into the Kindle is crazy. It's just not the case that you can leave your Word document to chance in some kind of automated software and hope that what comes out is a good-looking book, because it won't be. You really have to get involved in the formatting of your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, your blog has lots of good tips for authors, so tell us where we can find you.
You can find the blog at the moment at kindlewriters.com. I'm actually about to release my guide to formatting your book for the Kindle, and that's going to involve a bit of a revamp of the blog, but you'll still be able to find that and everything about it at kindlewriters.com.
Fantastic. Well, thanks ever so much for your time, Stephen.
Thanks, Joanna.